Hi everyone, this is Dr. Eberts. I'm going to take you through how to create a lesson plan using the Sneetches book from Dr. Seuss. I am recording this in my home, so you may hear dogs barking. I apologize in advance. The first thing you'll want to do is to watch the ASCA Mindsets and Behavior video, because you're going to have to insert a mindset and a behavior, and it'll make more sense if you've watched that video how to do that. The first thing you want to do is to decide on what is it that you are trying to get across. I basically have come up with an activity that you can do with kids, actually of all ages, that is based on respect and equality. The typical reaction to a children's book, like a Dr. Seuss book, is that older kids would not want to have a book read to them. But I will tell you that I've used this book with adults, high schoolers, and middle schoolers, and they are very interested in the message, as long as I let them know that I recognize that this is very young for them and that they can learn a lot from it. So the first thing you'll want to think about is who is it that you are teaching. In this case, I have put 7th grade. The second thing is you'll probably want to link this to your SMART goal. We haven't covered that yet in class. So when you turn in your lesson plan, that's okay. You won't have your SMART goal yet created. But you've already looked at the data from your school and you have a pretty good idea of the areas that they need to work on. So that's the kind of area that you can create a lesson plan around, and then it will very nicely link up with your SMART goal. That's not a requirement, but in practice it is something you'll probably want to do. I've picked one mindset and one behavior. You'll see in the video they're very similar, but you'll want to find the ones that are the closest match to the lesson that you are planning on teaching. And in this lesson, I have 2 objectives. You may also have some learning objectives or some state standards that you are going to meet, and this is the place that you will put them, right in here. The next piece is you'll need to know what your materials are. I've tried to infuse some technological elements into this because students really respond well to using technology. So here's the procedure, and I break it down by minute, and I encourage you to do the same because you'll want to have a very clear plan for how you're going to teach the material. I've given about 3 minutes for an introduction or a check-in. I like to know the names of the students I am teaching, and that's a very important part of my classroom lessons. Next, I'll read the Sneetches story from the book. And again, make sure you let them know that you know that they're not young children. And then I'll ask the students to reflect on the story by filling out a worksheet. And I have a copy of the worksheet right here. And when you turn in your lesson plan, you will also want to turn in a copy of any materials that you'll be using. Not a book, of course, because that's too much to turn in, but anything that, like a worksheet, you'll want to turn in. In this worksheet, I have asked them to answer these 4 questions. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, the Sneetches are creatures that half of them have stars on their bellies and the other half does not. And the star belly Sneetches have proclaimed that they are the best Sneetches. And so they leave out the plain belly Sneetches. And the whole story is about how someone comes to town and tries to sell them stars for their bellies and all the upheaval that comes along with, quote unquote, not knowing who the best Sneetches are because the stars don't mean anything anymore. And of course, by the end of the story, they realize, after they've spent all their money, that all Sneetches are the same, whether they have stars on their bellies or not. So you can imagine what the message of that story is. So I want the kids to take a moment to reflect on that individually through a worksheet. And then the next activity is for them to either pair share or small group share their worksheets, and then work in a large group, and then come back to the large group and share their discussion. And then for the last 20 minutes, I want the students to brainstorm, either with their groups or in their pairs, a program or a public service announcement that will teach other students about respect and equality. Now, that may take more than 20 minutes. I've found that kids use technology a lot more quickly than adults do, so it may not, but you may need to build in an additional class period or have the teacher build in some extra time for the students to then share their or create their technology. Now, the plan for evaluation, there are 3 different kinds of data. There's process data, which is the number of students included in the assessment, perception data, which is what is student perception of the problem, and then outcome data, which is those number types of pieces of data. So behavior referral should go down as a result of people understanding respect and equality, and behavior referral numbers, just like grades or absences, all of those qualify as outcome data. And then a follow-up would be that the students would share their products with the school. I hope this is helpful for you. This is how you write a lesson plan.